what do you think what about Mario Brothers do you think caught you? What was the hook that you think just got into you?
Well, I think it was that it was a world on the TV, as opposed to like Cubert or Pac-Man or Gallagher or the stuff that you might play in an arcade. It was a world that you could explore via Mario, and I don't know, it felt so different. It felt more real than anything that I'd ever really played before.
That was Blue Williams, video game journalist and co-host of Story Mode podcast. Very well read, very entertaining personality on Twitter. And I chose that clip to open with because that encapsulates this entire episode. That quick little 20-second snippet is really the vibe and the heart of this show. And you may be wondering why I open with that, because that's basically telling you do something else for the next 40 or so minutes. Not what I'm saying. But it's hard to do this because more than any other character in the history of the medium, Mario defines games. He's not only the mascot for Nintendo, he carries the flag for the entire industry. 4-year-olds can identify him by name without ever picking up a controller. You could ask 15 people on the street, have you seen this guy? This guy with the overalls and the hat and the mustache? Most of them will be able to say, yeah, that's Mario. It's a video game person. But here's the problem. What can I say about him that hasn't already been said? I mean, Mario's been examined, dissected, discussed for decades. What else can I add to this conversation? And yes, again, this sounds like I'm discouraging you from listening to this podcast, but tackling a Mario episode is like embarking on a theological discussion on the life of Jesus. I'm not saying Mario equals Jesus, of course, but millions of smarter, more talented people than I have walked down this road. So what's the answer to that? The answer is to do what I hope this podcast does well, or eventually will do well. It's tell personal stories and opinions I'm on Mario indoors, why the games are timeless, and the impact that this humble plumber has had on all of our lives. No matter what the pundit says, or no matter how many essays are written, or YouTube videos are made, nobody has our experiences. Our unique takes, the lives we've lived, is what makes us us. Makes us special and unique, and that's something no pundit or writer can have. No one has walked in our shoes. So tonight we're going to hear from friends of the show who began their gaming journeys with this one-of-a-kind character, as well as some personal stories and painful admissions from yours truly. So it's time to go down the plumber's pipe and check out some Mario on A Gamer Looks at 40.
Something's coming up the plumbing, poor Luigi's in a bind. Giant turtles out to get him, creepy crabs are right behind. Fighter flies, jeepers shikes, they're all coming out the pipes. Mario, where are you?
It's a
Now, unlike everybody that I went to school with or came in contact with, my first run-in with Mario didn't happen at home. It happened at a friend's house. Joey and I were friendly with a kid named PJ. If you remember or listen to the Wizard episode, yep, that PJ. So let's just catch up with Joey as he tells that piece of the story. When it comes to Mario, was your first experience Super Mario Brothers on the NES?
Yeah, that was my first experience with Super Mario Brothers, and it was over Paul's house. There was a play date, or I don't know if we had those in the 80s, but it was...
No, we went to people's houses. Hey, we're coming over. We're going over this person's house. That's what it was, right? It was, hey, I'm going over Joey's. All right.
Yeah, that's right. Correct. Yeah. And the carpooling, the carpooling thing was big. And for 1 month, one shining month, I got very, very, very close with Paul. Not that I wasn't close with him outside of this month. Excuse me. I was. But 1 month in particular, we became very, very close. My mom would pick us up because we carpooled, and I want to go to Paul's house. Okay, go to Paul's house. Drove me to Paul's house. I'll pick you up after dinner, and that was my first experience with Mario. Paul had a Nintendo, just like everyone else. Very proud of his collection. What game do you want to play? I want to play Super Mario Brothers. Yeah, really? Yeah. You sure? Paul's at this point bored with it, just like any other NES kid. Not me. This was,
No.
let me play Mario. Hooked. I was addicted to this game. I was addicted to what's this? What's that? What's the flower? What's the mushroom? What's the star? I get to level 2 immediately. I want to go above. I see that I can actually, if I somehow get to the top, I saw like it, if I somehow get to that top, how do I break through? I can break these blocks. That means I can get to the top. Paul's like, the ceiling. No, above the ceiling. I can walk on that. Oh, Paul's like, yeah. There's a warp zone. Check it out. Oh my God. What do you mean warp zone? I could skip? Yeah, you could skip in 23 level. Oh my God. I was hooked.
Yeah.
I was hooked, Bill.
I will bring this up probably on the episode or a different episode.
Sure.
I forget which, but I'll throw it here. I never had Super Mario Brothers. I never owned it.
Really?
And to this day, I've never beaten it. Never once.
Stop it, Bill. Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
What? And there it is. The painful admission. I, Bill Tucker, have never defeated Super Mario Brothers 1. I've never beaten it. Once. Not with warp zones, not with cheats, not with unlimited lives codes, nothing. I have never been able to defeat that game. I didn't grow up with it. Most people I knew had the classic Nintendo system with the Duck Hunt Mario combo pack, a zapper, and a controller. My version of the Nintendo didn't come with those things. It had 2 controllers. I think it was called the Control Set, if memory serves. I should probably look this up, but I think that's what it was. And it came with no game. There was no pack-in game with my version of the Nintendo. It came with a copy of the Nintendo Fun Club newsletter, which was a bi-monthly newsletter that would one day become Nintendo Power. And that is a story for an entirely different show. Entirely. So I had Rad Racer and Black Box Baseball for my first Nintendo games. I did not have Mario 1. So I only played it at friends' houses for maybe 20 minutes at a stretch. I'll talk about my first Mario game a little later in the show, but that's my giant hole. That is one of the biggest ones in my gaming fandom, and Joey continues to be taken aback by this.
This is crazy. You who
Me.
is just second to none when it comes to video games.
Oh, stop.
It's the truth. Your passion, I mean, I've never considered yours above mine or mine above yours. You've never beaten Mario?
No, I've never beaten Mario Brothers. Every year I try. Every year my thing is I don't use a warp zone. I do it beginning to end. I want to beat it as if I'm a dumb 6-year-old with no access to Nintendo Power, with no knowledge of how to restart the level, when you get a game over, how to continue. Yeah. No, all the way through, no continues. I've gotten to 8-1. I've never gotten through to the end. Every year I try. Every year, but I have not succeeded.
Oh, this is great. Yeah. We got to make this. This is a documentary in the making.
This in itself, my quest to beat Mario. I'll just Twitch stream my. Today is the day. I am not leaving Twitch until I beat this game. And so here it is. Finally, I'm going to take on the challenge again, and yes, I am going to live stream it. I am going to open up my brand new. Well, it's not really brand new. It's rebranded, but whatever. Don't yell at me. I'm going to open up my brand new Twitch channel, A Gamer Looks at 40. If you go on Twitch, you can find it right now. Subscribe to that, follow it, do all the Twitch things. And on June 4th, 2021, June 4th, 2021, I will make this year's run to beat Super Mario Bros. 1 for the very first time. Like I said in the clip, no saves, no save states, no continue codes, straight up. Like I said, a dumb 5-year-old. And this time we will see. I may not leave this stream until it's beat, because it is a pretty challenging game when you play it from beginning to end with no world continue and no save states and no warp zones. So look for that. June 4th. I will be promoting it on my Twitter account, which again is A Gamer Looks at 40. Do you enjoy video games, comic books, and elderly men talking about the MCU? If so, you're going to love Games My Mom Found. Hosts Mike Alberton and Michael K. Hughes mine the games and comics of their childhood via entertaining deep dives and retrospectives. Along with a rotating cast of third mics that occasionally includes myself, the aforementioned elderly man, the mics explore well-beloved classics and titles from deep in the vault. No paid promotion here, just two fellas I like who do good work, so I think you're going to like them back. New shows every Wednesday and Saturday on your podcatcher of choice. Follow Games My Mom Found at Moms Found on all social media platforms. As I mentioned earlier, I never had Mario 1 as a kid. My life was Rad Racer and Black Box Baseball. That was the extent of my Nintendo adventures at home. The first Mario game I ever owned / bought with my own money was Super Mario Bros. 2.
Super Mario is back. He's blasting through worlds where no one has ever been. He's taking on enemies no one else dares. This time Mario pops up power wherever he goes, so he's bigger and badder than ever before. You've never seen creatures like these. You've never had an adventure like this. It's everything you've dreamed of and worlds more. It's Super Mario 2, only from Nintendo. Now you're playing with power.
I remember it taking months upon months for my mom to get her hands on it. I wasn't at the age where I was going anywhere, but I had saved money from Christmas and birthday, which are 2 days apart, sadly, and handing my mom the $55, $60 and saying, please get me this game. And it took her months. Back when Mario 2 was released, it took forever to get that game. It was back ordered. You could not find a copy of it. Not quite PS5, Xbox level bad, but it was pretty bad. It was hard to get a hand on it. And when I first popped it into the system, it was the first real world I experienced. I had never, up until that point, seen something so vibrant and colorful and fun in my hands. My friend's Mario 1 game, it was cool, but it was pretty drab. Weren't a ton of colors. The blues weren't that blue. Mario 2 was just Technicolor. It was alive and vibrant and all these interesting, weird enemies, these dudes with masks on spitting bullets out of their mouths, and everything was just bigger and wilder, it seemed. It didn't seem like it was in the same world. And as we all know, if you listen to this show, you know the Doki Doki fact. Of course, it wasn't part of the same world, but it just seemed like a generational leap from the Mario 1 at my friend's house to this new adventure. It was indeed Mario Madness, as it said on the cover. A few weeks ago, I talked with Trevor from the New Dad Gaming podcast, and we talked a lot about Mario 2. And, well, I shouldn't say we talked a lot about Mario 2. I talked a lot about Mario 2. Let's listen in. I enjoy playing Mario 2 more than Mario 3.
Interesting.
I enjoy it more. I know it's not as good. It's not better. I think it does some things a lot better than Mario 3. I've gone into Twitter debates about this. And it was good-natured Twitter debate, but it took all day.
Violent Twitter debates.
No, this was a very good-natured Twitter debate with the well-read mage, because I posited that Mario 3 bosses are bad. They're not good, because Mario bosses should be quizzes, and then final bosses should be final exams. They should test you on what you've learned so far in the game. Mario bosses do a bad job of that because your skill set is very small. Mario is amazing because it takes a very specific, precise set of mechanics and builds amazing levels around them. Kind of what we were talking about before with Tetris and Portal. Small skill set, amazing levels. But when you just have a Koopa kid throwing rings at you and jumping, and you dodge like that, you're not learning. You're only utilizing this skill set for a very small range of attacks. Like you're not being tested on anything. They should just have the airship, which is the test. That's the real test. Navigating the airship, dodging, jumping, using all the elements. Boom, hooray, you get the thing. Like you don't even need the bosses. It's just this weird snack at the end. Whereas Mario 2 bosses are better. So
yeah, I think it's bold. It's certainly bold. Like I do remember the concept of different characters having the different abilities. Something that has now made it all the way to the new Switch games.
Sure.
But Peach with the glide, Luigi with the slightly higher jump, like that was a bold choice, like especially because that's really messing with the take this word as you will, but perfection that was Mario, as far as like that being such a tight, well done experience, especially as kind of a showcase game for the NES.
Sure.
Like awesome, like it stands the test of time. So then to take it and just really crank and change the formula, so you have these different characters doing different things or different jump type abilities. Like that's quite the spin and quite the bold move.
Yeah, I mean, everyone, of course, is the Doki Doki fact, of course, about Mario 2 and its origins, so no one needs to hear that again. Yeah. But it's, so there's reasons for that, of course, based on the source material. But the only thing I wish in Mario 2, and they actually fixed this in the Mario All-Stars version, is they allow you to pick a new character every time you die.
Oh, nice.
In Mario 2, you cannot. In the regular Mario 2, once you pick Toad, you're a Toad until you hit your continue. That's it. You're stuck with them. And Mario 2 All-Stars, it allows you to re-choose every time you lose a life, which is good. I think it's really good. In my circle of gamer friends, you can't talk about Mario without mentioning Super Mario Bros. 3, arguably the greatest Mario game ever made. My friends had strong opinions on why this game is an all-time classic. You heard her at the beginning of the episode. Blue Williams talked at length on why this all-time great is also her all-time favorite. Did you have any other kind of like obsession games where you just, this is the game I'm just into for like 6 months?
Our obsession for quite a long time was actually Super Mario 3.
Oh, okay.
I know that is my ultimate number one favorite Mario game of all time. And
okay, that's a good one. It's a good one to have.
Yeah, I know most people will say something newer or say Super Mario World or whatever, but no, for me, it was Super Mario 3 because that game just, at the time, for me, in my brain, it felt like Mario 3 broke the rules of everything that video games had ever meant and been before. Like, you had an overworld map, and you could choose kind of, to some extent, the order in which you wanted to do the levels. And there were all kinds of insane secrets. Like, Mario could fly. Like, I don't know how you felt the first time you played that first level and you got the leaf and said, I don't know what this does. And so you take off running and you just fly. The level is designed in such a way that you figure out by yourself that you can fly. And you're like, oh my God.
It is. And Red and I had a decent conversation about it when we were recording about how good that 1-1 is of really every Mario game. Almost all of them have phenomenal 1-1s where they, exactly like you were saying, it teaches you innately how to do these things. And the flying is pretty amazing because it gives you just enough runway and it gives you some coins that go in diagonal. Jump for these things. And if you're running at top speed, once you hit that, your little P meter's going. Get that little boom. to this guy, it's pretty masterful. And it's fun. I mean, it's just I'm a Mario World. If you ask me, that's my number one. But you can make the argument, and it's a good argument. Well, that's a good argument to have. That's not a wrong answer. Well, there's no wrong answer in those questions, but yeah, I think that's a perfectly acceptable answer, I guess.
Oh, good. I'm glad. Yeah.
Yes, I don't have to kick you off. It's fine. Boom, stop recording. Get out of here. I mean, Mario 3, I think at the time, at least in my world, was the biggest, most anticipated thing in my life up to that point.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, graduating elementary school wasn't as important as like Mario 3. Like
No.
that was life, as the kids say.
It was the biggest game, and essentially a game as an event, a game release as an event.
Yeah.
As we had ever seen in the history of video games at the time.
That may have that's a really interesting point. Yeah, Mario 3 was definitely a release event. Unlike anything before. Like nothing had been an event like that before. Yeah, that's a very interesting way of putting it. Yeah.
And now with modern games, it's pretty common to have releases as an event. But back then, that was the first.
Yeah, like Fire Emblem 14, has a release date. Yeah. Now you can't have anything without a bunch of stuff going on with it. But yeah, no, that's a very interesting thing. I remember walking out of the Wizard, and they gave us a little book. It was like a little promo book of like some stills from the movie, and then a big catalog of Nintendo products you could go ahead and buy.
Lucky.
Yes, I know somewhere in the depths of my mom's basement, the house I grew up in. My mom's still there, and all this stuff is still sitting there. Just there's 15 years worth of Nintendo powers just sitting somewhere in a box.
Dude.
Oh no, I need to go there and raid.
Go get those. What's the matter with you?
I don't. They're all there. Who was I talked to? I was talking to my best friend last time when we were doing this. I used to keep all the manuals for everything. I used to keep game boxes. Like I have boxes for all my old SNES games and N64 games. I'm like, can I just sell these boxes? Because I don't know what am I gonna do with boxes.
I mean, you could, but also, like, they're cool.
They're cool. Listen, I have 2 kids and a house that's rapidly decreasing in size with every passing year.
All right, fine, if you want to be practical about it. But
I know. Like, what people will say, why don't you collect games? And I'm like, can I store them at your house? Because I don't know, where am I going to put them? No, those are some of those things I could never get rid of. I don't think I could get rid of my Nintendo powers. I don't think so. Anyway, sorry, off track. Michael K. Hughes, co-host of the Games My Mom Found podcast, had this to add to the conversation. Mario 3, that's a biggie. I could do a whole episode on Mario 3 at this point.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Yeah, what about Mario 3 works for you? Why does it work so well as a game?
So I never played the original Zelda back in the day, so I didn't have the big open world, quote unquote. But Mario 3 just felt huge, like 8 worlds and all these levels and the overworld maps and all that stuff. There was nothing like it as far as I knew. So getting into each world and they all have a different theme, it was huge to me. It was awesome.
How many hours do you think you plunked into Mario 3?
Probably too many. Probably a lot of playing that instead of doing things like homework and chores and whatnot, and I'm sure that got me in all kinds of trouble.
I hear you. Yeah. Enough to where regular life was disrupted.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Of all in the Mario kind of course, the giant plus 100 Mario games there are out there in the world right now. There's also a lot of non-traditional games as well, right? Like your Mario Maker. What non-traditional Mario game do you think best captures the spirit of Mario as a character, or as a character, like captures that spirit? What do you think is the one?
Non-traditional as in not a platformer?
Yeah, like not a platformer. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Like, there's a lot of Mario sports games that are really good. Mm-hmm. Like, I really like Superstar Baseball on the GameCube. Really fun.
Never played it. Okay.
Oh, man, you should look it up. It's great.
Okay.
Where you have all the characters kind of have a special ability that you can use. Like, if you have Mario as a pitcher and you use his special pitch, he'll throw a fireball pitch. Or Yoshi will throw a egg pitch that will kind of bounce around like a knuckleball.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's fun.
That's cool.
But, Mario Karts are great also. Obviously, they become super iconic.
Yeah.
And Mario Party, I really like. Not so much now. I think they've kind of gone off track with the last couple. But like that Mario Party 4, 5, 6, and 7, the ones that are on the GameCube, those are like peak Mario Party. Those are really great.
You can tell the difference between them because I can't. Other than like the system they're on, they're all blurred to me. I've played a couple. What about Mario Party does it? And I think I know the answer to this based on our conversation, but I'll let you just put it in your own words. What about Mario Party does it for you?
It's something that you can play with friends, with family. The mini games are so fun, and it's hilarious to get a bunch of, now with my siblings, they're all adults, but get us all together and start playing little mini games. And it's hilarious, all this screaming and the pushing like we're still 6 years old. But at the same time, the games are still challenging because there's a little bit of an element of randomness.
Yes.
So it will still keep you on your toes. So you're never really sure who's going to win or not.
It's interesting because I think a lot of times, even in my brain, I think if you're playing competitively, you should win and the best player should win. But in Mario Party, that's not the case because a lot of it is really random, like a board game, which it is laid out like a board game. And I think if you approach it with that board game mentality, it's probably a lot easier to digest, I imagine.
Yeah. Well, and it's even there's a bit of randomness in Mario Kart, right?
Sure.
Like you've been in first place the whole time, and then here comes the last lap and all the blue shells, and it's like, you could never catch me without the blue shells, but that's not Mario Kart.
That's it. It's right. Well, exactly, right? That's just not the game. My son experienced the pain of a blue shell.
Oh, did he already?
Yep.
Is he in therapy yet?
Yeah. I later like, well, yeah, he wasn't upset about it. That's interesting about a little kid. He wasn't upset about it. He was cool.
It didn't strike him as horribly unfair and unjust.
No, it was just he blew up and he was like, okay. And he got in third place instead of first. He was actually in first, clearly.
Wow.
He got hit by the shell. And he was in third. I'm like, dude, you were in third place. And then he counts. Yeah, I beat 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and like 11 racers. I beat 11 racers or whatever it is. So, anyway, that's pretty cool. Yeah, Mario Party is something I never played a bunch of, but I do know people really appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wish that with the last one, Super Mario Party, it was pretty lame. It seemed like they had gotten rid of that sense of randomness and really just kind of dumbed it down and put training wheels on it so that it's everybody gets a trophy. It's like, but no, that's not Mario Party.
People lose and then people win.
If somebody's not crying by the end, you haven't done it right.
But even that game, again, that's what the beauty of Mario for me is as a whole. And I think Mario Party is a good example of that, is that everyone's welcome. Not everybody gets a trophy, right? But even if you come in last, you're still not felt to feel like a complete failure.
Right.
Like no one should walk away from Mario game feeling bad. When my son gets in 9th place in Mario Kart 8, Lakitu's there giving him good job. Good try. Well, you didn't get a trophy, but you know what? I'm going to applaud. And that's nice. Like that's a sweet thing that doesn't happen a lot in games or in life.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's pretty neat. Very cool. When it comes to going back to Mario, if you met somebody in this world that had no idea who Mario was, never played a Mario game, what game would you point them to as their first point of reference? You cannot pick Mario 3 or Mario World.
Why would you ask me this?
Because I wanted to. I know you'd say Mario 3 or Mario World.
Oh, okay. Well, it would have to be a platformer.
Okay.
Perhaps like a new Super Mario Brothers U or something like that. You can kind of still get the same flavor of it. It's a platformer. You could go to these different themed worlds. There's all the different items. You can play with 4 people, which is a step up or a giant handicap, depending on how you look at it.
Handicap, always a handicap.
Yeah, totally a handicap. So
now we know how the games
that's probably
play.
where I
You know,
would
for
start
the most
them.
part, they're incredible. They're world-class platforming experiences. But why does it all work so well? Why does the character endure? And can Nintendo have stuck with another 8-bit design and had the same effect? Could they have put anything on that 8-bit sprite and would have caught fire like it did with Mario? It's an interesting question. Would it have captured the world's imagination? Blue gets us started with her opinions.
Mario as a character, I think works because he is, for the most part and for much of his history, less so now, but he was essentially a blank slate. He had his classic look, something, you could identify with, something that could easily become iconic and become a mascot. But at the same time, you were free somewhat to build your own personality for Mario, to create him as you liked him best as he went through the games. And then eventually Nintendo kind of started to give him a personality. And even then it worked great because he's just a friendly, cheerful, optimistic guy. It's really hard to dislike Mario.
I don't think I want to know the person who actively dislikes Mario.
There's people out there, there is.
There are. I guess there are. I'd want to ask them why. Like, almost like, are you okay? Like, are you okay? Because
yeah,
what's he ever done to you? I don't know. He's just, like you said, cheerful and charming. And what do you think about mechanically? Like, what makes these games just work as beautifully as they do, for the most part?
Okay. I would say that Nintendo has had the great advantage of being able to gather together some of the most brilliant creative minds of our time into their fold. And with that, they're able to create games that are fun, yet challenging, yet accessible for everyone. And yet they're almost always something new, something different. So you're hitting all these high points. It's something anybody can play, but it's still an adventure. We don't know where we're going, but we know that if we practice hard, we can get to the end. They're for everybody. They've been created for everybody. We were talking earlier about the importance of games that people can play, at the level that they need to, level of challenge that they need to. And Mario games are totally like that.
Yeah, totally. I think the games are actually, as the series is progressing, people will sometimes chafe at the idea of, getting the quick and easy way through a level, as the more modern platformers, if you die 7 times, you can use the magic, I don't know, gold star or whatever, right? And you can just blow through it fast. I think that's cool. I think that's neat. My son, I've tried to get my 4-year-old into more games and introducing him to some older games, newer games, and just didn't have the flavor for it. He is into Mario Kart 8. Yeah. And he is finally getting good at it, decent, good. As good as you could expect a 4-year-old to be. But it's cool because you can put the steering assist on and you could put all these different things on. It's I think Mario has always been very accessible, and I think that's very important piece of the of what makes him work.
Yeah, I think lately they have been erring more towards the making it for kids, which I have found to be a little off-putting. Like it was Mario Maker 2. If you're going through the 100-level campaign, and I think it's if you died 3 times in a row, it would pop up and prompt you, like Luigi would say, "Do you need me to do this for you?" I was like, and the first time it was fine. But then it kept doing it. Every time it kept doing it. I was like, God, I wish I could just turn this off.
Interesting. Yeah, so having that control would be lovely, right? Please stop reminding me of my failures.
Right. It's like, I can do this.
I'm trying to persevere, please.
Right.
I'm trying to play the game you made. Please stop asking me to stop.
Right.
Like, I even remember my mom coming into the bedroom. My mom was playing Mario 1. And she had made it to 1 too, but she was kind of struggling. But I was still impressed that she was trying to get into this thing that my brother and I love so much. And she just didn't understand it because she was, a parent,
Yeah. That's cool. That's cool. that's really neat. She really tried to kind of see what her sons were really into.
Oh yeah, and the fact that I'm so addicted to video games all these years later is completely her fault, because she would get us games on our birthdays and whatnot and Christmas. And
Cool. So she was pretty supportive of the of the hobby.
Mm-hmm.
Nice, very nice, man. But here's another, and I've been asking this question of others as well. What makes Mario work from a mechanical standpoint, like from its actual like mechanics, and as a character?
Mechanics is probably how tight the gameplay is. Like, they knew that they were going to be able to do one thing, so they nailed that down pat. Like, the platforming is just spot on. Always has been.
Yeah.
As far as a character, though, I don't know, because just looking at him, he's just this portly Italian plumber. Like, it shouldn't work. It's like, it's not something that kids are going to gravitate towards. Like, you see Sonic and Pac-Man and Mario. It's like, I want the little guy, man. That's my mascot of choice.
Right. And all the other game companies combated Mario with, edgier, Sonic the Hedgehog and Bubsy, who are wisecracking furries, let's just be honest. And nothing ever touched him, which makes it interesting. Like, why did Mario appeal to you as a kid? Or if you think back on it, at least.
It's got to be just the games that he was in. Like, you could, if it was any other character, that would be the one that we're so focused on these days. Because, other than that, I have no idea.
That's fine. That's fair. I mean, it's interesting you say that if it were any other character plunked into that space, I don't know. I mean, I think another one would have been fine. Like, if you plunk Sonic the Hedgehog into a Mario game and made him behave like Mario, maybe. But I think there is something to the character of Mario that's just very interesting. So you just latched onto just the pure how it felt in your hands.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so. And just the hype around it, because, that was the big thing on the playgrounds. Everyone's playing Mario and whatever.
Yeah. So a lot of the peer pressure too? Kind of like...
Yeah, because I don't even know that I knew about Zelda or Metroid until years later. Probably the Super Nintendo with the sequels. And then I went back and was like, oh man, these were around for a long time.
Now, a few of you may be thinking, kind of harsh, but not really. He makes a pretty decent point. It's not a thoughtless thing to think. Is the character of Mario really what made him legendary? Or is it really just the mechanics of how beautiful he feels in your hands and how great the platforming is? Could you put anything on that sprite? It's an interesting question. I lean towards no. But as I do these interviews, interesting topics and interesting opinions do pop up. Most importantly, that it's just Mario touches people in different ways for sometimes really personal reasons.
Mario had a father, a fatherly aspect to him, at least for me. I saw a man, that had a mustache. There was a fatherly thing to me. Like, I did feel that way about him. It was very comfortable playing Mario. Like, this is more of a fatherly figure.
Interesting. In what way emotionally? Like, how did it connect to you on a familial level?
Well, your father, is, your father's Superman when you're a child. Your father, he's your guiding light. He's who you're looking up to as a man. And here you're playing a video game of this fatherly figure, at least to me, who's saving the day. It's Mario's saving the day. You're navigating through a game of enemies, not with a ninja with a sword, not with a shinobi, not with an assassin, but a blue collar guy with overall jeans and a hat and a mustache. At least that was my experience for me playing him. I think as time went on, he became more cartoony. He became more of a caricature of himself. They enhanced that for children, obviously. But in his first incarnation, I mean, you don't even see the character. You don't even see that cartoon character on the box in Mario 1. No. You don't. You see a close-up of an 8-bit figure. At least for me, that's the experience I got playing it. defined the entire industry. There's without him, you don't have Sonic. You don't. I'm not going to get into it. I would be here all day. But he defined an entire industry and platforming in and of itself, a genre of gaming. There's been others before, but nothing matched that type of experience with the graphical prowess of Nintendo, the sound, everything about it. It was truly an unbelievable experience.
None of these people are 100% right, and nobody's 100% wrong. And that's the beauty of Mario. He can mean anything to anybody. He is a blank slate. He's the ultimate player surrogate. For some, he's just a symbol of incredible game design. He is the symbol of what platforming should be, and the paragon of any platforming game. He's the example. For others, he's an inspirational character. He is kind and open and just accessible to everybody and anybody who picks up that controller and decides to play that game. And still for others, he's personal. He damn near family. And to create a character that's that universal, that's open to interpretation and that open to personal exploration is very rare in a world where everything has to be so finite and defined. Mario is wonderfully undefined, which allows us as players to make up those stories for him, to create those connections ourselves. If you found this interesting, I'm going to do an even deeper dive on the next episode of A Gamer Looks at 40. Is going to be Mario Part 2, an uncut interview with the well-read mage during our initial just chat about games and, the initial interviewing process. We talked for about an hour about this subject. Mario, what makes him work as a character, what makes him work as an ideal, mechanics. We go through the big litany of a lot of the questions we asked here. We answer in that interview as well. It's really fascinating. I think it's great. So it's going up next week on A Gamer Looks at 40. Basically uncut. Just gonna throw it on up there. Hope you enjoy it. And in the meantime, play some Mario this week and see if you can't find something new to love about him. Thank you so much for listening to A Gamer Looks at 40. If you enjoyed the show, please connect with us on Twitter at A Gamer Looks at 40. Also, on Twitch, June 4th, I announced it here. I will be attempting to beat Super Mario Bros. 1 for the very first time, completely beginning to end with no resets, no cheats, no save states. It's going to be intense, I think. So join me on Twitch at A Gamer Looks at 40 to check out that show. It'll be a lot of fun. And until next time, thanks again for listening.